All right, everybody. Thank you very much for joining today's LinkedIn Tuesday on December 17th. And today's topic is Back to Basics, Making LinkedIn Work for You with Ruth Lipsky. This event will be recorded, and the recording may be on the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Comments in the Zoom chat window do not appear in the recording. In the chat window, please enter your questions in there. I will moderate the call, and when Ruth pauses, I will say what questions that we have for her as we go through this. As a reminder, LinkedIn Tuesday was founded by Jeff Morris, I'm sorry, Career DFW in 2008. He also then started careerusa.org in 2012 after he attended a session at the White House with other job search consultants. He also wrote the book, Your Job Search, um, and what I've learned about your job search that you may not know. And he's also led the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group since 2007. He's been a member of the PIT Crew since 2017. And he was also recently at the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group call on Friday, and he presented effective resumes at that one. So soon he will be back in the saddle. As for me, I'm your guest host. I'm a job seeker as well. And so I'm looking for my next opportunity. As usual, we have Locke Alderson, Terry Sullivan, Ruth Lipsky, and Kurt Vandemotter as our four LinkedIn professionals that present to us on LinkedIn Tuesdays. As you know, we have our LinkedIn Tuesday. We also have the Interviewing Wednesdays, and on Friday, the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. On Wednesdays at Christ United Methodist Church, there is in-person first, second, third, and fifth Wednesdays of the month. And generally, it is online sessions only on the fourth Wednesday of the month. However, with the holidays around the corner, tomorrow is actually going to be the PIT Crew, and that's going to be on Zoom. So hopefully you can join us then. On Friday, that's currently led by Walt Glass and Matt Keelan for the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. The topic is The Joy of Stress, Preventing the Hardening of the Attitude by Loretta LaRoche. So hopefully you can make that session. You can also join the Career DFW and Career USA LinkedIn groups. We have over 15,100 members in the careerdfw.org group. Also, if you want to see previously recorded sessions on YouTube, look for careerusa.org, click on playlists, and then click on view full playlist. And then you will be able to see all the different LinkedIn Tuesday sessions that have been recorded. We do not record Terry Sullivan's sessions, so you will not find any of his sessions here. If you're not receiving emails about our workshops, you can join the Career USA mailing list. You can scan the QR code or you can send an email to Career USA subscribe@groups.io. Please note that Career DFW is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We have no full or part-time employees, and we survive on donations. Please consider making a donation when you get your next job. If your new company makes matching donations, we are registered. If you do not see us listed, let us know who they use. And so with that, Ruth is a career consultant with Lee Hecht Harrison. She specializes in the enhancements that LinkedIn rolls out, particularly the improvements that job seekers can use. Today's session, again, is Back to Basics on LinkedIn. So with that, I will turn it over to Ruth.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the introduction. We are going to be talking about LinkedIn and how it's going to be used in your job search. And it's important to know that there are some basic features of LinkedIn that are going to be important for you to stress, for you to write up so that you've got a full set of information for any recruiter or hiring manager that might be looking at your profile. The problem with LinkedIn is that there's a lot of information out there and it's not consistent. And if you're reading any of the articles about what to do on LinkedIn or how to do better on LinkedIn, they're not only inconsistent, but they sometimes contradict each other. And that's because the authors have different backgrounds, different needs, different expectations. What we're going to be working with today is the goals where you identify what your value is, what your skills are. You need to be aware of how LinkedIn's algorithm works so that you're taking advantage of their search engine and optimizing your profile. And for our purposes, that's really going to be things like the more times you say you have a skill in your LinkedIn profile, the higher level of proficiency LinkedIn feels that you have, so that it will reward you for having a skill listed in more than one section, makes you more visible. We also want to make sure that you've got visibility and readability. The human eye is going to be taking a look at your profile as well as that LinkedIn algorithm, but the human eye needs to be able to read through the information comfortably. And if you do that, then you're going to end up with something that is genuine, that is authentic, that is going to be optimized for you. So the agenda today are going to be the basics of LinkedIn, setting up a profile, having a headline, utilizing the hashtag open to work. We'll talk about the about section, the experience section, and skills. So if anybody does not have a LinkedIn profile, you go to www.linkedin.com, join now, and you're able to set up an account. If you have an account, then you may want to check and make sure that your email is right and that you've got your notifications and your privacy settings set up properly. So in order to do that, you're going to want to go to your profile. And on your profile, under the Me icon, you're going to go into Settings and Privacy. And in the Settings and Privacy, you've got a table of contents over here. If you have just come from a company and you had the company email as your major account, change your address to your personal account. In your visibility section, toward the bottom, where it says, do you want to share job changes, education changes, work anniversaries with your network? Turn that off. You're going to be doing a lot of work on your profile, and you don't need to be sending out notifications every time you update an area that LinkedIn is utilizing. So take care of those, and then you don't have to worry as much about people feeling that you may have accepted a job when you really didn't. The other thing to do on your profile immediately is to set up a verification. And the verification was created by LinkedIn so that people know you're a real person. You are not a robot. You're not artificial intelligence created. Companies are doing this, recruiters are doing this. There is a preference through the LinkedIn algorithm to select people who have a verification. Now, there are three different types of verifications. One is that you can use a government ID. It looks as if you could do that verification over a laptop or a computer, but in actuality, you can only do that with your phone. Your phone has to be able to take a picture and it has to be able to show a live view of your face for facial recognition. So, government ID, you can use a passport, you can use a driver's license, whatever else the government might have opted. You can also do a verification on Workplace. If you're not working right now, that's not an option open to you. But once you do join a company, get a verification to indicate that you're a real person and the company has hired you. The third type of verification is education. And if you are a student or if you are employed by an educational institution, you can have your verification that way. So those are the three ways to set up a verification. Check those out also. So doing that quick look on how to set up your profile, we went into settings and privacy. We checked to make sure that the email was a real email that you'll be able to access. That you turn visibility to off so that you're not going to be spamming people in your network when you update your profile. On your profile and your URL, let's make sure that you have a sleek looking URL because when LinkedIn created a page for you, It set it up as your first name dash, last name dash, and then a string of letters and numbers so that you weren't having the same URL as someone who had your exact same first and last name. Go into the public profile and URL, click on the edit pencil, and on the upper right-hand side of this page, you'll be able to edit your profile and take out the information to the right of your name. Take out the dash, take out all the letters and numbers. If someone else has a profile that has your exact name, then you can either put in a middle initial or you can put in a dash location or dash industry or dash job title so that you're distinguished from other people. While you're on this edit page, take a look at your visibility because sometimes this gets turned off. And you want the recruiter, the hiring manager, you want LinkedIn to be able to see everything on your profile so it can analyze the information against what that recruiter is looking for and be able to bring you to their attention. Let's go back to, so we've got a better URL. We've got your verification. If you have not been verified yet, you've probably got this as a message underneath your headline area. You'll get more profile views because LinkedIn is trying to get rid of the scammers, the fake that is out there, and they want to know that you're real and they will reward you for that. Profile picture. Your headshot shouldn't contain more than one person. Don't try and edit someone out so that it looks as if you took it during a party. It should only contain your head and shoulders. It should not include any pets, uh, or any additional information. Just a headshot is fine. Looking at the camera indicates more trust and is generally perceived as a better picture. Smiling is a plus. You don't need to be smiling, but you do need to look welcoming. Sometimes people tilt their head when they have a picture taken, and for women especially, it's often considered a beauty pose, as if you're listening a little bit closer. In the corporate world, having a tilted head is a sign of submission and is not a good thing because you want to be able to be seen as a person who's capable of making decisions. The clothing that you wear should reflect the type of role that you're looking for. If you are going to be in an executive branch or an area of the financial industry that deals with the public, you may need a suit and tie. If that's not what you're going to be wearing to work, don't use that. Use something more casual that still indicates that you can dress appropriately for work. The background picture is that big area on the top of your profile page. You would use the camera icon on the top right side of that oblong rectangle to upload a branded picture. It needs to be something that talks about your industry, your title, the type of information that you want people to know. LinkedIn does provide you with some backgrounds that are more flavor of the month. Don't take those. It's not going to be unique enough. It's not going to be indicative of who you are. And if you need a suggestion, you can always go to Google Images and type in LinkedIn background. And when you're doing that with Google Images, LinkedIn is going to provide you with thousands of rectangular pictures. If you want to narrow it down, Google gives you some filters already set up. But if you want to go directly to the type of role that you are interested in, and let's just say pharmacy, LinkedIn has pictures that would probably be appropriate for you. And notice that they change the filters that are associated with that type of search. If you find pictures that you like, you right click on them, save image as, because that puts them into your picture folder. And the picture folder is the only place that LinkedIn can find it. Most of these pictures look good in these small tiles, but when you blow them up into your background, they look fuzzy, and you really don't want fuzzy in your background. So download a couple of them initially try them all out.
Ruth, with a question about the background picture or banner, we want to make sure that it's not a copyrighted banner as well, because we know people that have been sued for using a copyrighted banner. So make sure you are careful when selecting your banner.
There you go. And most of the time you'll see a watermark on it, especially when you blow it up into your background. So good point, Patty. Stay away. Let's talk about the headline area. This is the area immediately underneath of your picture. It's the most important part of your profile because LinkedIn treats this as the words that you are most interested in and feel are your strongest skills. It's a way of talking directly to a recruiter because when a recruiter is doing a search either on LinkedIn Recruiter software or on LinkedIn itself, the only information that LinkedIn gives back to the recruiter is your picture, your headline, and the titles of your last two jobs. That's it. So your headline is the way of telling the recruiter what your skills are. You do have a limit of 220 characters. You can't get too wordy in this, but use it to showcase a title, personal brand, your expertise, your value proposition, anything that you want a recruiter to see immediately as here's the person who I am. Don't use special characters, don't use emojis anywhere on LinkedIn because it distorts the search and you're not found when you've got the special characters. LinkedIn chokes on those types of information and doesn't read your full profile. So, the templates that we are looking for in the headline, you can have a title or two, and then you can list the key skills, one right after another, separating them with a pipe. Or you can have a title or two and then accomplishing something through some other skill, or a couple of titles using X to increase or decrease Y. You're putting a value there. What is the recruiter looking for the type of job that you want? And here's some options that we might want to consider. If you are somebody like a full stack application developer, you want to showcase what skills you have in software, because that's the first thing that the recruiter is going to be looking for. As we get into other titles, such as a project manager, which could be any part of an organization, any level in an organization, project managers need to have more information about what they do. Financial analyst putting in information, business analyst, data scientist, putting in what you do, how you do it. And as we get into the higher levels of an organization, like a vice president or a director, the information becomes less task or specific oriented and is more of a strategic value to a company, creating value for business through effective marketing strategies, helping the world become more customer centric. The higher level you are, the more strategic those words need to be in your profile. Location. LinkedIn does allow you to put in a zip code or a postal code. It will give you the option of either accepting a city or a metropolitan area. For some reason, metropolitan areas come up higher on searches all the time. Don't know why. They come up higher than a country would. We're seeing more people put United States as a location, which sometimes can indicate that you're willing to work remote. But recruiters generally want to know what area code you're in. They want to know when to call you for a discussion without calling you too early or too late in the day. So United States doesn't seem to come up in the searches as high as the metropolitan area does. Your choice, though, as to what you want to be able to tell recruiters.
Ruth, quick question for you. If we go back to the headline very quickly, one thing I wanted to ask you about is your point of view to add something unique to the title, such as I'm a cookie lover. Do this or that. What is your thought about that?
I don't think the headline area is necessarily the place to put clever or cute or personal things.
Mhm.
Because the only thing the recruiter is really looking for is, can you do the job? If you can put in information after this and say pizza lover, that might be okay because it indicates a bit of a sense of humor. But for the most part, sense of humor comes into the about section. Personal information comes into the about section. So but be
Yeah.
careful about using that. But if you feel that you've got the room and you've indicated everything else that you need to say, that's fine.
And then someone else asked if you are mobile and willing to relocate, what should we put? And I would assume that you can do that a couple of different ways, right? In the about section, as well as in your open to work and where you say if you're able to relocate or what cities you're targeting, et cetera.
Generally not in this area since it's got 220 characters and you're really trying to deliver a strong statement on the value.
Hmm.
Putting open to travel or willing to relocate normally is one of the bottom lines of the about section.
Yeah, thank you.
That's where the recruiters will be looking for it.
Yep. And then somebody had asked, can we go back to who can see your email address? What is the most common setting for this?
The only people who can see your email address will be, let me take you there.
I believe it's first degree connections, right?
It is the first degree connections. So if you are on somebody's profile and you click on contact information, if you are a first degree connection, you can see what my profile is, which you're there already. If there's a website, if there's a phone number, if there's an email that I have added into LinkedIn, you'll be able to see it. But a second or third degree connection cannot see that information. The only information they would be able to see is your profile URL.
I,
Right.
Ruth, I was, this is Wade Farrell. I was the one who asked that, and I actually found it under the visibility section where you can change it from first to first or second.
You can
Um,
do that.
yeah, so that was my question is, should it only be firsts, or if you're in a job search and recruiters, you're not connected to them, should it be first and second? That's really where I was going with my question.
Oh, I would probably you could put that in. Uh, I don't like social media having phone numbers out there uh, too much. But if you feel that the type of recruiter that would be looking for you wants to contact you by phone rather than by the email,
Yeah, I was not phone number, just the email address.
email address you always put down at the very bottom.
Right, okay.
So in your email address or in this very last part,
Yeah,
we
no, I
normally
have
put
that.
in,
Yeah. Yeah, I
yeah,
have that.
you'll put in,
I was just worried about the visibility section, that's all.
yeah, I probably would not, but you could try it out and see if that gives you more visibility or if
Okay.
they contact you more. I'd love to hear about that one.
All right, thank you.
And then the other question was, which settings should we make public so recruiters can find us without any issues?
And was that in this section right here?
Yeah,
Every
I think which recruiter, yeah. Which settings should we make public so recruiters can find us without any issues? I know that we should have our contact information in the about section because not everybody buys LinkedIn recruiter profile, which is who can see your information when you have contact information, but they're only if they're a first degree connection can they see that contact info typically, unless, as Wade had mentioned, you open it up, all your information to first and second degree connections, or whatever. So um, I think that's a personal preference. Ruth, I mean, recruiters need to f have an easy way to call you. So typically we say have your information in the about section, typically during job search. Others have advised you want to have that on the first line of your about section because they only see the first four lines without clicking see more. At least it should be in your about section if you don't want to have it on the first line. So Ruth, I
It
know you
does,
can talk
and I
more
would,
about that.
yeah, I would never put a contact information up on the up this high. You've only got 4 lines to really convince somebody to look at you more closely, and it's hard to pull yourself into 4 lines worth of information as here's the value I bring to your company. So I always put it at the bottom. I know some people like it at the top. I think there's more important information to put at the top. But
Yep. And that's why we have different opinions from everybody, right? Um,
exactly.
and then somebody said, is there any way to make your phone number visible to only recruiters? And I think that's only when you do the recruiters only on the open to work part. Would it only be to then those recruiters who buy the LinkedIn recruiter package? Would that be
But they
available?
can't see your phone number through that. They can merely see
Uh,
that you're
True. That is true. They wouldn't be able to see that, right? Unless they're connected to you as the first degree connection,
correct.
or unless you open it up in your privacy settings to have everybody see your information,
There you go.
right?
Okay. Let's get into industry then. Sometimes you'll see recommendations to change the industry to the industry that you want to join. So if you've been in telecommunications for the last couple of years, but you want to make a switch over to healthcare, they'll say change the industry on LinkedIn to healthcare. LinkedIn is going to assign an industry based on your most recent company, and it has 149 different industries. It is now switching to the NAICS version, which has 1,710 different industries. During the time that they're making this change, you can't change your industry, it's locked down. Once the rollout is complete, you'll be able to change that, and being able to change the industry to the one industry that you want to be looking at next can be helpful. It's not as high uh, part of the algorithm as you might think, but it's still a possibility for you. Now let's talk about that hashtag open to work, because it is the number one filter that is used by recruiters when they are looking for talent and titles. And it's going to be through the top portion of the profile itself so that you'll be able to put in up to 5 different job titles. LinkedIn has standardized 6,000 titles. You have to use one of those 6,000. Should be enough for you, but it means that you're using the LinkedIn name for your job, not the title that the company gave you. And when recruiters are doing a search, they use one of those 6,000 titles. They're not looking for an exact job title that they have right now. Location types: do you want to work on site, hybrid, remote? What locations for on site? What locations for remote? Most of the time, that's going to be United States, indicating that you're willing to work remote from anywhere, from any company that is domiciled in the United States or has a footprint in the United States. Your start date, I'm flexible. If you're looking for a job now, you want it immediately, the different employment types. But then you have a choice. Do you want the recruiters to be able to see all of this information, or do you want just, uh, or do you want everybody on LinkedIn to be able to see it? If you say that all LinkedIn members should see that you're open to work, you're going to have that hashtag open to work banner around your headshot. If you have recruiters only, it's going to be limited to the recruiters who are using the LinkedIn recruiter software, which is about half of the recruiters who are out there looking for people to join their company. So let's take a look at what that means as far as, is this something that is desperate, or is this something that is just a statement of open to work? On the negative side, there is a perception by some people that this is a desperate notice that you should not use the hashtag open to work, and that there could be reputation damage because at one time, generally 15 to 20 years ago and further back, people who were laid off were the ones who were the poorer performers. And some executives, some recruiters can't get past that, and they still feel that that is a damaging thing to admit that you were part of a layoff. Positive side, LinkedIn rewards people who by bringing them toward the top of a search, and recruiters are actively looking for the people who are open to moving, open to starting interviewing immediately, and you can have up to a 40% increase in recruiter interest. If you're, or even if you're just using it as recruiters are able to find you more. And it also gives you better networking opportunities so that you're going to be able to expand your network a little bit easier by indicating something about yourself that you're looking for work and you're using LinkedIn in order to increase the number of contacts that you have. Now, the attitudes are shifting on this. I asked ChatGPT to look at 500 articles that were written last year and year to date in 2024. And they had to be written either by a recruiter or someone who had styled themselves as a LinkedIn expert. And I asked of those 500 articles, which ones supported the hashtag open to work and which ones did not. The result, 70% of the people of the articles written said use it, 30% advised against it. Now, when I changed the prompt to 2021 and 2022, looking back a couple years, the results were different. 60% recommended using it and 40% recommended against it. Bottom line, more people, more recruiters, more LinkedIn experts are saying, use this feature. It is going to help on a job search. But there will always, always, always be a certain set of people who are going to look at it negatively. That's the whole problem with LinkedIn is there's no such thing as perfection. There's no such thing as perfect. It's going to be based on what the viewer is able to interpret from what you're writing.
So
Up to
Ruth,
you.
as a question on this, somebody said I have had a lot of job changes and get asked about on most interviews, all have valid explanations. Is there a good way to avoid looking like a job hopper so people will not pass you up on that initial look?
You would probably need to add something into both your resume and onto your LinkedIn profile that indicates why you changed jobs. So
So
being
within
able,
each experience then, or
well, if you had more than one, if you were in 3 different companies in a span of 4 or 5 years, one of
Mhm.
the accomplishment statements that you would have, generally your last one is company merged with such and such company, part of 400 people layoff.
So that's within each experience or something. So on the
Within each
experience
job
section,
title,
within each job title on the experience.
generally so.
Okay.
But getting ahead of those questions is going to be an important part of them feeling comfortable with you.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at the analytics. The analytics is going to be the area that is right underneath your headline area, and it's going to show the number of people who have looked at your profile. If you are posting, it'll show the number of people who have responded to that, and it'll show you the number of search appearances. This is the only indication LinkedIn gives you on the success of your profile. If you're looking at these numbers and they are going up, that means that people are finding you, that you are being viewed, you're being found, there's an interest in your profile. If these numbers start going down, that means that you're going to need to change something. And there are parts of your profile that age. And one of them is going to be your open to work. LinkedIn rewards you for having the open to work by bringing you toward the top of a profile of a search. But after 2 months, it is aged to the point that it's no longer as effective. Delete it, add it back in immediately. You don't need to wait a day or anything else. The other thing that ages is going to be your headline and the first 4 lines of your about section. If you're seeing that these numbers are not going up, then you need to change your headline. You need to change your about section, just that part, and you need to refresh your open to work. That will re-implement LinkedIn's interest in you as a job seeker.
Oh, and somebody was asking how to refresh the open to work. You just have to go click into it, yes, and turn it off and then turn it back on, but you have to reselect everything.
So when you're in here at the bottom left-hand side, there's delete. You might want to take a picture of what you've added in case they do ask you for this information a second time. The job titles would probably be the ones, but you can also change your job titles on a monthly basis because every time you do something on LinkedIn, every time you hit that enter key, LinkedIn knows about it, and you should always have at least 4 hits each week on 3 different days. So if you're looking for a job and uh, you're clicking on something there, the more active you are on LinkedIn, the more LinkedIn is going to think that you are sincere in your search and reward you for it. So turn it off, turn it back on.
Another quick question for you, Ruth, is somebody was just recently laid off. They left 4 weeks ago. They believe it's disingenuous to build their brand if they're looking for a job. I don't want to turn on the open to work. What do you think? Because that brand at that company was well known and relevant.
Then you can have it for recruiters only so that you're indicating that you are interested in a search, but you don't want people in general or that used to be in the company to see that. Part of
Mhm.
that is going to be in the about section though. So let's take a look at how some of that can be useful also. So in the about section, you're going to talk about successes. You're going to be talking about your experiences. You're going to use as many keywords as you can that are associated with success in your next job. The first 4 lines are the most important because if you don't impress somebody in the first 4 lines, they're not going to click open and read the rest of it. And paragraphs should be no longer than 4 lines deep on a laptop or a computer because then they become a wall of words if they're too big and they're hard to read. The eye skims over it, the recruiter's not going to read it. So the template that we're going to be looking at, begin with a hook to draw the reader in. And rule of thumb, a title with X years of experience in this field or this job title, I help companies do, boom, something of value. This is what is going to make a recruiter more interested in reading the rest. Discuss the current role and your key skills and focus on the skills that are important for your next job. Talk about achievements whenever you can using numbers or metrics to show the size, but non-quantifiable results can be powerful too. So we'll talk about that in just a minute. Highlight the value you bring, both technically and managerially. Mention something about your personality or your interest. That's going to be at the very end of the about section, and it's not going to be a big one. It's going to be fairly straightforward. But non-quantifiable accomplishments are sometimes overlooked as we're creating our profiles. And a lot of times you have done things that don't necessarily have numbers that are associated with that work or with that accomplishment. So being able to put in what you did, why it was being done, why you got promoted, how you were part of a special training program. These are all accomplishment statements that can be added in without numbers and are still going to be a powerful indication of how you've worked in a company and how you've contributed to the success of a company. Now, once you've written a non-quantifiable accomplishment, you can sometimes go back and say, well, I can put some numbers in here or there, but some of them are just going to be non-quantifiable. That's why we have a whole area for that. So keep an eye on that. Don't try and put everything in numbers if it's not comfortable. Now, job seekers normally come in one of three different career goals. One is that they want to find a similar job to what they had before, or they're looking for several different job titles because of the type of work they've done, and they want to open up the number of titles they're looking for, or they want to find something completely different. Let's take a look at how those about sections would be set up. The first, looking for the same job. There's an accountant who has a lot of keywords in here. Be aware that although the About section is the biggest area of LinkedIn at 2,600 characters, you don't need to use every single space that's out there. This is a good profile About section because it has an identification of talent and what's needed. Now, here's another way of looking for the same job. In this case, a digital marketing strategist picked out 3 areas of expertise that are important for success in that role and provides information about how he has been successful in these areas. So this gives more information about the key skills and the proof that that skill had been used to the benefit of the company. These experiences are also part of the experience section that is underneath this because LinkedIn rewards you for saying things more than once. And if you don't say it in the About section, the reader might not bother to scroll down into the experience section. Looking for the same job for an executive. Executives are going to have strategic projects and complex processes rather than tasks associated with their information. They are going to be looking for maybe 3 to 5 key strengths, less than 3 and you're not well-rounded, more than 5 and you've diluted down these strengths into something that is just too broad. Impactful experience, indicating the exact type of role that is being used and how they have had the value within that. Executives quite often are not going to want to put a lot of numbers and metrics because they've signed a non-compete and a non-disclosure, so they can't put in numbers. So if you're in an executive job search and you don't feel comfortable putting in numbers or names of clients, don't. It's okay. Now, if you're looking for more than one job, you're going to be using a lot more space in the About section because you're going to use that to showcase the different types of titles that you're looking for. And you're going to put in the types of accomplishments and work activities that you've had that are going to prove that you can do that job. Looking to change careers. First paragraph is always going to be, I was good at my previous job, but this is why I want to change careers, because that's the first question that people are going to have. How come you've got all this experience in one field and now you're saying that you want to move into some other? You need to address that in the About section. And in this case, talking about the types of skills that are brought in are going to be able to allow this person to move more seamlessly into a new type of job with some skills that are transferable. And here's another, looking to change careers. Once again, being able to say, here's what I used to do, here's what I want to do now, here's why I'm doing it, and here are the reasons why I think this is a good career move for me. Now, your experience section is probably going to come right out of your resume. But the end date is one that we generally need to talk about. It is often closed at 2 months, maybe 3 months, but it's going to depend on what it is that you're looking for, why you left. LinkedIn now allows you to add a career break. And the career break is designed to be a placeholder when you don't have a job. And you're going to find that in one of 2 places. You can either have it in this Add Profile section, where it says Add a Career Break, and allows you to select what type of reason you had for not working. The other way you can put it in is in the Experience section, because that's where it's going to end up, and you're going to add a new experience, and it can either be a new position because you got a job, or you can add in the career break, same type of information. The problem with this is that LinkedIn still looks at this as you are not employed because you're not when you're using this. And when you're not employed, that puts you into a subset that is lower down on a career search. So if you don't have an active job, you are not considered as high in the results as somebody who does have a job. So your option on that is that you are going to add a position, but you're going to make it a position for the future. And the way that you may want to be able to put that in is that you're going to put in a set of titles in a new job. You're going to admit that you're self-employed or that you're contracting or that you are open to new opportunities. And then in the description area, you're going to put in, here's the type of role I'm looking for. Here are the skills that I bring to that job. So when you close out your last job, as far as no longer working there, you can either add a career break or you can add in a placeholder that acts as a real job. This one is going to be better for you as you're looking for a job because LinkedIn treats people who are employed just a little bit differently.
Ruth, question for you if we go back a slide. So where you see like career transition, like do they have explanations of what each of these mean? Obviously, we know some of the basic ones, but some of these you're like, that's interesting. We're all in a career transition right now.
It does not, but it will put that in as a title for your
Uh,
in your experience section. And in the description section, you can put in what is you are taking a full-time parenting or why you're doing a caregiving break. So you can
mhm,
put in as much information as you feel comfortable. Some of these are personal reasons, and you don't want to give information that might open you up to a scam.
mhm. Right. That was going to
So
be my next question. There are a lot of scammers out there. Like, we got to be careful with certain things that we put out there, right?
there you go. Yes, ma'am. In your experience section, the title that the company gave you might not necessarily reflect the job that you really did. And you can translate your company title in both your resume and in your LinkedIn profile to something that tells recruiters more closely what you actually did. And here's a way of doing that. My job with LHH is called a career consultant, but it's also called a career coach in other parts of the industry. So I put in a pipe and I translated my title with the company to something that might be more noticeable for other recruiters. Similar thing here. My title at Transamerica was Senior Manager of Training and Development, but my whole goal with the 12 people I had in my team was to move instruction from classroom to virtual training. And during this time, I acted more as an instructional designer and an e-learning developer than what I would normally consider to be a training and development manager. So putting in parentheses afterwards, this is the job title or titles that actually explain my job, or just translating it. So a pipe, if you're just saying there are other ways of calling this title something else, or in parentheses, if whatever job title they gave you at the company isn't necessarily reflective of what you did, put it in parentheses what your real titles should have been. So education, putting classes, courses, college, university. Skills, LinkedIn has identified 3,600 skills. And in the skills section, you're allowed to put in up to 100 skills. These are going to be skills that you need for your next job. It's not a skill that you needed for a previous job. If you are a manager or mid-level or above, that's an individual contributor, you probably need to have both technical skills and managerial skills. LinkedIn will only recognize a skill that has at least one endorsement on it. So if a recruiter is using LinkedIn in order to search for somebody who has a skill in Python, you can have Python in your list of skills, but if nobody's endorsed it, LinkedIn won't see it. The human eye will see it, so the recruiter will see it, but LinkedIn won't find it unless you've got an endorsement. And the more endorsements you have, the higher that skill is assumed to be in the LinkedIn algorithm. This used to be a huge piece of the algorithm. It's not anymore because a lot of recruiters have found out that rather than indicating high value, high competency, it means you've got a highly active social network
Yep.
that endorses each other. So
Yep.
this is not as important, but this one absolutely is. Make sure that the skills that you have an endorsement next to them. Send notes out to people saying that you are improving your LinkedIn profile and would like endorsements. Would you mind endorsing me for any of these 10 skills? And in return, I'd be happy to endorse any of the skills that you feel that you want to highlight. The skill order can be changed so that you can click on the three dots that are on top of the box of skills and you can reorder them. And when you reorder them, you're going to have to be utilizing the parallel lines over to the side in order to make those move. So when you're in the skill section, you're going to show them all, going to use the three dots, reorder them. You would think that you could move the skill, doesn't work. You do need to use the parallel lines, move the parallel lines up and down. If you're a first degree connection with me, come out and endorse something. It's always good to see that. Becoming
Ruth,
an all. Mhm.
there were two other questions that came in. First, what about the age of endorsements? So say you've worked for a long time at a company and I don't know, you got this endorsement back in 2015. Is that going to matter in the LinkedIn algorithm, or should we get some newer ones for
You need to get
endorsements?
newer ones because LinkedIn does keep track of how long ago some of those endorsements came in, and they will age off. They will still be visible, but they won't be as highly ranked. So
Okay.
getting more endorsements or more recent endorsements would be good for you.
And then is a recommendation better than an endorsement?
A recommendation is a huge plus. Whether you write one or whether you receive one, this is an immediate boost because it takes time and energy and thoughtfulness in order to write a recommendation. An endorsement is just a click, yeah, got that skill. So
Yep.
if you write a recommendation or you receive a recommendation, boost in the algorithm's ability to find you.
Yep. Great.
Okay. LinkedIn knows there's no such thing as a perfect profile, but they do recognize that there is such a thing as a complete profile, and they call it an all-star. And the all-star means that you have to have a photo, that you have to have a location, and as we said, metropolitan areas are preferred over cities and countries. You need to have an industry. Can't change that. They've already got that in there for you. You need an about section, and your about section needs to have a minimum of 40 words in it. You need to have a current position and experience. And we talked about how to put in I'm looking for a job, it's full time into your experience section. You need to have education, something in there, and you need to have at least 5 skills in your skills section. So let's talk about what we found out about the LinkedIn algorithm. You don't use special characters or emojis on your profile because that interferes with the search engine. The more times you mention a skill, the better value you get out of it because the higher proficiency is assumed. Words in the headline are going to have the highest value in the algorithm. Locations with metropolitan areas are going to be better than single cities. Only skills with an endorsement can be seen by LinkedIn. Your open to work becomes less effective over time. You need to refresh it every 2 months. And if you find that your numbers in your analytics section are going down, it means that you're aging out and you need to refresh portions of your profile. Normally, it'd be your headline, your open to work, and the opening section of your about section. As far as the recruiters, which is the other group of people that you're trying to work with, you need to have a picture in that big rectangular background area to give them a boost of here's who you are. You need to have a friendly looking headshot that looks as if you'd be welcoming in a company. You need to provide an interesting, value heavy headline. Notice that both the uh, algorithm and the human eye wants that headline. First 4 lines of the about section should be powerful. Make the about section readable. Top 2 skills that you have on your profile page should be the ones that you really want everybody to see. And all skills should be listed in order of importance in your LinkedIn skills section. So change those around and make the best ones at the top, particularly if you've got more than 20 of them. 20 you can scan through, but when you've got more than that, you want them in the order that's necessary. Other things that might be of interest as you're trying to find the best basic set of information on LinkedIn are these statistics that came from LinkedIn. Okay, questions?
Great. Well, thanks so much, Ruth. I think this was really enlightening for everybody today. Really felt like I learned a couple of new things as well. There are actually quite a few questions that I'd like to have you answer. So going back to the recommendations, does the recommendations section in LinkedIn help your chances with recruiters?
Which ones, on this one or?
They're just asking if the recommendation section in your profile will
Oh,
attract
okay.
recruiters.
Yes. Recruiters look at that as part of a background check because most of the time the information there is going to be generally more sincere and honest than just an endorsement would be. So recruiters read not only what you've received as a recommendation, but they also read pretty carefully what you have written because that tells them a little bit about what you feel is important and what your writing style is. So
Mhm.
recommendations, we really didn't cover them here because that's not part of the basic set of LinkedIn, but it's a huge boost both by the algorithm and by the recruiters.
Okay. And then going to the skills, is there an optimum number of skills that we should have?
Since you can have up to 100, if you feel that you've got 100 skills that you want to highlight and you can get some endorsements on the important ones, fill it up.
Yeah. And then with recommendations, ones that I got 4 or 5 years back, will they help or will they age out too?
On recommendations,
Yeah.
there's still an indication of how well you performed a job and how well you interacted with other people. They are going to age out in that they're not going to be that recommendation is not going to give you a boost like a new recommendation would, but it's still going to be valuable to have it there. So
Hmm.
although it may not have a strong part of your algorithm anymore, the recruiter is going to look at it pretty carefully.
Is AI factored into the LinkedIn algorithm? I'm not sure that we all know what's in the LinkedIn
Well,
algorithm.
the LinkedIn algorithm was one of the first to use artificial intelligence. And it differs from applicant tracking systems in that applicant tracking systems that are looking at your resume as you're setting a resume into a career board, those are mostly matching programs. It's not artificial intelligence. LinkedIn is. And by creating, here are the skills that 3,600 skills. Those are the skills that the recruiters are going to be using. They're not going to have to worry about should this be an adjective, should it be an adverb. The skill section has been standardized really well by LinkedIn very early on, but artificial intelligence absolutely is a key part of this whole algorithm. And they're not going to share anything about the algorithm because they don't want you to game the system. But the fact is, if you don't know the rules to the game, you're not going to win.
Yep. Where on your profile do you see if you're an all-star?
It will be right underneath your, um, let me show you that. You're the only one who can see it, but it's going to be right in the analytics area. And as soon as you become an all-star, it disappears completely from your profile.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't show it to you on mine, but it will be in this area, and it will show you which parts of the all-star series you're missing.
Yep. And then regarding the LinkedIn Premium, what are your thoughts about whether or not the job seekers should have LinkedIn Premium or not, benefits versus not having it?
You should only use LinkedIn Premium if you know what your benefits are and you plan on using them. So when you are in a job search and you're looking for, let's say, a project manager role in the United States, and you're coming into this all filters area, when you're in the all filters area, right around here is going to be um, top applicant, which means I'm going to take these jobs right here that came up in the search. Man, if I spelled it right, I'll bet I'd get better results.
It doesn't auto-correct for you.
It really should. Okay, so now I've got 46,000 of them. But if I went into all filters and came down here and clicked on top applicant, that's a nice feature of LinkedIn Premium because it tells you which jobs of this list you are an applicant for that matches the skills that you have in your profile. Now, if you
Mm-hmm.
don't have a complete, robust profile, then you're never going to be a top applicant. So before you go into LinkedIn Premium, make sure that you put all the information you possibly can in. If you're looking at individual jobs, it will give you information toward the bottom, which will give you company insights, how they are hiring, possibly more information about skills, and would allow you to add skills into your profile if you see that there are skills that they're looking for in this job that you don't have in your profile. You click on them and it'll add them to your profile
Mm-hmm.
in the skill section. So there's some things about the skills, the company details that are useful, but make sure that if you're going to be using it, that the premium that you're able to use all features of them. Most of the time we think about having it show up in here where it says only if you have um, LinkedIn Premium are you going to be able to see more details of who is looking at your profile. You really don't care. Recruiters are doing a search that is anonymous, and you're not going to see the recruiter name, and you may see the company name, but you're not going to see much else there. So premium, you're not going to care as much about who is checking out your profile, but on the jobs tab, it could give you a boost to find out why you were not selected, that perhaps you didn't have the job skills the way LinkedIn was looking for them.
Right. Other skills that other applicants have that you don't have on your profile, and maybe you forgot to add them in under your experience.
Mhm.
Uh, Another question is, should I remove all emojis off of LinkedIn? Last week I was told to add them on to make my profile more appealing.
That's good for the human eye. And absolutely, if you've got an about section that is fairly long, being able to have emojis or stars or something can make it useful. The problem is that LinkedIn is proud of the fact that they do not accept formatting in this area. If you've tried to type in into the About section, you can't bold, you can't underline. And the reason for that is that LinkedIn says that there are too many different types of products out there, different sizes, different manufacturers, and what you put in as an emoji on your laptop that is using Edge uh, and has to be translated to a recruiter's Samsung phone, they're not going to use that same emoji. They're going to put some other emoji or some other feature in there, and you don't know what that is. And it might not be a happy emoji. So since they won't translate it for you, it's okay if the person who is looking at your profile is using the exact system and products that you're using. But if it has to be translated across devices and across sizes, it's not going to look as good.
Yeah. So this question came up a couple of times. Please give tips to identify genuine recruiters versus scammers, and also please give some tips to identify ghost or scam jobs.
Okay, looking for the shield. Let's go back into the jobs. And when we said we're going to take a look at project managers. Okay, so we've got all of these different jobs here. If you're taking a look at a company and it has the name of a recruiter, sometimes it will have a shield next to the company name or the recruiter name. And then you know that they have been verified in some manner. And that gives you a better view of, is this a real person? Is this a real company?
So is the
If
shield like the check mark, like what we see next to our name
right,
or the verified?
right.
Okay.
So it'll be the exact same shield as what we've got here.
Mm-hmm.
As far as finding ghost jobs, LinkedIn tries its best not to post ghost jobs, but you never know. And a ghost job is a job that is a real job, but it's been offered to somebody internal to the company already, but they've posted it to the outside uh, to say that they're looking at all available candidates when actually you're going to get an immediate, we're going with a different candidate uh, than you immediately because they've offered the job to somebody internal. What you can look for in LinkedIn's list is this promoted. If it says that the job is promoted, that means that the company has paid LinkedIn to move this job to the top of your search list because they are looking to hire from the outside. They are looking to move quickly. And if you are 70% qualified for the job, they're probably interested in you.
Mm-hmm.
So promoted would be a good thing to be looking for, and there are all kinds of them. But they'll always be at the very top of your list. Most of the time, LinkedIn is going to give you a list based on this job is the closest match to what you have in your profile. That's not going to happen here. If it's promoted, it's going to come to the top of your list because the company wants you to see this job, not because they think you are most qualified for it. Did that
That's a
make
good
sense?
tip.
Okay,
Yep. At what age do the endorsements or recommendations start getting old?
2 months.
Wow, that's fast.
Yeah.
That's faster than what I thought you were going to say. Let's
And they're
see.
different levels. It's going to still be a significant part up to 6 months, but that real boost is in the first 2 months that you receive it.
Okay. Um, would you be able to explain in mail? Is that considered a message?
It is so that when you are trying to talk to somebody else and you are going to be sending a in mail to them, uh, you have to have the LinkedIn Premium. If you
Mhm.
want to talk to somebody that you don't know, your better option is to connect with them because the connect message allows you to say, I've applied for this role because of my expertise in this. Would love to discuss in more detail. Let's connect.
Yep. Somebody asked how to creatively invite my former references to write a recommendation. And some have mentioned use ChatGPT or your favorite AI tool to help write and invite requests, but maybe you have some other thoughts.
I don't find AI good in that uh, particular situation. So if you're on somebody's profile, let me see. Boy, they keep changing things around. Let me do it this way. I'm going to your profile, Patty. Um, in this More feature right here, I can request a recommendation. And when I request a recommendation, I'm going to have to let them know how I know Patty, what the position was that I had at that time. And instead of saying, "Hi, Patty, would you write a recommendation for me?" I am going to write the recommendation for Patty. Patty, I am trying to improve my LinkedIn profile. I would appreciate you writing a recommendation that talks about and then in detail, uh, what you did, when you did it, what skills you want to use. You've got 3,000. This is the only area that's bigger than the About section. You have 3,000 areas just to ask for a message. So you're writing it for themselves, and AI can't do that. AI can't know what skills you want to use when you use those with that person. So this is one area that I think has to be very personalized. And at the end, you normally say, "In return, I'd be happy to write a recommendation for you. Let me know what skills you'd like me to talk about."
Great. All right. So a couple of people have asked if you would be able to share your presentation.
Of course. And I can add that in. Hang on a sec while I find it.
Great. Thank you so much. Everybody found it insightful. And I think it was some really uh, great information to share. Some things that maybe we forgot about, things in the privacy section, other things within our profile. And so hopefully everybody took something away. Yes, the session is being recorded. It will be posted on the Career USA YouTube channel probably within the next few hours. So you can rewatch this video at your leisure.
And the slides have been added to the chat feature if you'd like to download that.
Great. Thank you so much, Ruth. And
My
so
pleasure.
with that, just to let everybody know, this is our last LinkedIn Tuesday for the year. So we wish everybody a happy holiday season, happy new year. We will start up again in January. So January 7th, I'll have Kurt Vandemotter on with me. And then again, I will have Ruth back with me doing this session again on January 28th. And then she will also be presenting on February 4th on a different topic. So hope to see you guys back here for LinkedIn Tuesday. Really appreciate everybody attending, and good luck with your job search the rest of this week and the rest of the year. All right, and I will stop the recording.